Again, this is Lisa Perruccio, and today's training is on Dotloop. And all of you that are attending, I'm so happy for you because this is an essential part of all of your real estate day-to-day business. This is where you get all the forms. This is where everything is done, everything is done electronically. So to know Dotloop is basically to know your right hand. So looking forward to training today. Just gonna kick in here right now. If you look at our chat, the chat is open, and in there I broke down what I'm gonna cover this today in our training. It's 3 sections. First section is on how to set up your loop for success. I promise you, if you do these 3 very basic steps, you will have no problem with paperwork in your transaction. Section 2 is how to submit your paperwork for review to our compliance board. Everybody knows that each state has a required documents by the state, and the compliance team is the one who approves the loop. But I'm going to show you how to submit your loop for review, what the compliance team is going to be looking for, and then because we want to get you paid so as quick as possible. So section 2 is how to submit your loop for review, and my favorite section is section 3, which is a little tips and tricks to Dotloop, which is my favorite section. So I'm going to get going. So Dotloop, everybody who belongs to the MLS has a basic watered down version of Dotloop, but that wasn't good enough for Stacy and our layer agents. So Stacy has gone in and invested in the Dotloop brokerage account, which is given to all of our agents. Now, once you become an agent at Layer, you will be invited into the Dotloop Layer brokerage account. Now, the brokerage account has over 5,000 forms, okay? Layer Realty Partners is in the state of Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Connecticut, Maine, Rhode Island. So we're in a lot of states, and we have all of the paperwork, the official paperwork from the boards in Dotloop for you. Those are all interactive forms where your client can sign anyway. And we're going to go over all of this in our training. So you have to be invited in. So one of the questions we get is a lot of people will make loops and they're like, the admin or the compliance team can't see the loop, and that's because they're not logged into the brokerage account. You do not want to use the link that they give you on the MLS because that's that watered down basic version. That is not the brokerage version. So how can you tell that you're in the Layer brokerage version? If you go over here to the left-hand side, you're going to see premium. You'll know you're in the brokerage Dotloop account if it says premium. If it says you have practice loops, or if it ever asks you for money or to upgrade, you're not in the brokerage account. So this is a great way. Log in as long as it says premium on the left-hand side, you're in the right account. So this is called the dashboard. Once you log in to the premium account, this is your dashboard. Now, these are all the deals that I have done and all. This is my training profile. So these are all the deals. If this is the first time you've ever logged in, there won't be any deals up here. So until you make one. So, but I just wanted to go over that. So section 1 of our training is how to set up your loop successfully. So basically there's 3, very easy, 3 things that you have to do. Number 1, create the loop. I'm going to go over all of these in all these 3 steps, but basically it's just 3 steps to set up your loop for success. Number 1, create the loop. Number 2, add the people along with the roles. That is a very important step. We're not going to skip that step, and I'm going to tell you why later. And then step number 3 is fill out the paperwork and share the paperwork with your client. If you do this when you're setting up your loop, you will not have a paperwork problem at all in Dotloop. So let's go over step one. Step one is how to create the loop. So 90% of everything you're going to do is going to be on the right-hand side, and anything blue is an interactive tool. So you can hit anything that's blue. You can enter the price. You can do that. Anything that's blue, you can't really screw up anything or make something if you're just hitting the blue is an edible field that you can use. So number one, how to create the loop. So right over here, remember 90% of what you're going to do, if you look on the right-hand side of the screen, you're probably going to find what you need. You're going to add a loop. So we're going to hit this. And now we do ask that if you're the listing agent, we do ask that you create the loop with the street address. Obviously, if you're a buyer agent, you do not have a street address yet. You only have a client's name. So you're going to start creating your loop by the client's name. But for this training purposes, I am going to create Test Street in East Longmeadow. We do ask that you put the entire address in here, and why is because, like I said, Lair is in several different states, and I'm sure there's a main street in every single one of those states. So we do ask that you create the loop with the full address. Now, if you're in here and it pops up, it's going to pull from the MLSs, so you can click on that if you want to. So now we're just going to hit again on the right-hand side. It's blue. Let me get rid of this. And we are going to continue. So now what you need to do, there is a drop down here. You need to pick out the loop template. So if you've been in real estate for any length of time, you used to go to the office, used to get a manila folder, and you used to write on the outside of the folder the address. Then you would go over to the forms and you would take all the forms that you need. So now if you open up this drop down, you'll see that we did all of this work for you. We don't want you to have to look through Connecticut forms as if this is a Massachusetts sale. So we broke it down by state for you. So we have Massachusetts listing, which is the one we're going to pick. If I was representing the buyer, obviously I would pick this one. We have rental for landlord, rental for the tenant. We have commercial. Then we jump into Maine listing, Maine buyer, New Hampshire listing, New Hampshire buyer, New Hampshire rental, Rhode Island listing, Rhode Island buyer, Connecticut. You can see this, Florida. We have Florida in here. So for this training and purposes, because I don't have anybody actually on the call, we're going to pick right here the listing template. Now, I want to show you what you try. If you try to continue without picking a template, it's going to give you this warning. You have to pick a template. Okay, so we are going to pick from the drop down the Massachusetts listing, and now we're going to continue. Remember, it's blue and on the right hand side. You can upload a picture of the property if you want to. You don't have to. So I'm just going to put done right here. And right now what it's doing is Dotloop is making the folder and putting all of the paperwork that you would need as a listing agent into this paperwork. So anything that's blue, you should really fill out. We're going to say that this is a pre-listing, okay? And we're going to enter the price. You've done your homework. You think that, they're going to get $750 for this. So now we're going to open up. This is like having the manila folder closed with just the address on the outside. And if you hit view the loop, now it's like opening it up, and now you're looking at all your real estate forms. So with that said, there is a folder in here called listing folder. 99% of what you need is going to be right here. We did all of the work for you. There's a lot of documents in here, but just in case there's something else, instead of having you cipher through over 5,000 different forms, we then also created another folder in here called Other Important Documents. The only thing I think you could really need here is this extension of time. So if you did need an extension of time, you could just put your cursor over, hold down, and drag it into your main loop, okay? Now, if you're like me and you want a really clean work surface, you don't want to see all this paperwork that you don't need, if you just click on this folder, it will collapse it, okay? And if you need to look at it, you can open it up. But I like a clean work surface, so I always close it. So step one in setting up your loop for success was create the loop, which you did. Okay, step number two, you're going to add the people. Now, if you're just in here, you don't see that. You have to drag, go down all the way down to the people section right here. I'm going to pause here because this is where a lot of agents make the mistake. They do not add their client right away with their role. You want to add your client and their role because everywhere a seller needs to sign in that paperwork, it'll assign their name to it so they can sign it. So notice how this is me right here, but I did not give myself the role. So you have to give yourself a role, and I'm going to be the listing agent. When you assign your role, everywhere in this paperwork that I have to sign, it is going to drop my signature there, and then you just have to adopt it. And I'll show you how to do that later. So we're going to add our client. So I always add Mary Glavy as my seller. She helps me in my training. So under here, under role, I'm going to give her the role of seller. Now, when you do that, this information does pop up. According to the state of Massachusetts, if we ever got audited, this information is required by the state. So you're going to have to put in your client's phone number. You could do it now or you could do it later. You're going to have to do it. You can put in your client's email address. I mean, your client's street number, street name. Well, this didn't come out right. So let me see. Street number, street name. Let's put just Elliott Street because we know that the property that Mary lives at may not be the property that she is selling. So you're going to put in your client's address where they live. This is not the property address. This is where your seller lives. And I'm going to add the person. You're going to have to do that either way. You're going to have to do it now when you probably have, when you're setting up the loop, you probably have the information. I suggest you do it then. If you don't do it then, when you go to submit for review, if that's not filled out, it's going to say we need more information. So now that's how easy it is to add a client. A lot of people don't want to add people, the buyer agent, to this section because they're afraid if I add them, they're going to be able to see everything in the loop. That is not true. There is one caveat to that. So if you add a person, so I'm going to add Peter Marino, who is an agent in my office. And I'm just going to put him down because I want to show you something. Okay. Now, if I check this, then that person will be able to see everything in your loop. So you never ever want to check this add to my team. The only time you would check this off is number one, if you pay a transaction coordinator, because they're going to need to get into your loops. So that is the only time you're going to check that off. Or if you are a team leader and you want to be able to see all of your team loops, when your team creates a loop, they would add you to the team so you have access to the loop and see what's in the loop. That is the only time you would check this off. You never check this off. Your clients are not team members, they're clients. So you never check this off. And then you just give him, I'm going to give him the buyer agent. This is going to pop up. You do not need to fill that in for the buyer agent. You could just add the person. So now I have Peter Marino, the buyer agent. I have me, the listing agent, and I have my seller. Okay, so just going to pause here again. Step one was create the loop. Step two is add the people along with the roles. I do a lot of compliance, helping the compliance team, and I can't tell you how many agents do not give themselves a role. They're not setting their loop up correctly, which making their paperwork a lot harder than it has to be. So in step two, we do not skip this step at all. Remember, add the people to the people section along with their roles. Okay, so then in step three, now you're going to fill out the paperwork. Very easy to do. We are going to just open up the listing agreement. It recognizes that we have Mary Glavy as the seller and me as the agent, and it's saying, do you want me to autofill? And I'm like, yeah, autofill. So I'm going to autofill down here, autofill. Now, the reason why I like autofill is because if you have a client that has a very difficult last name to either spell or pronounce, you put it in right one time under the people section, it'll always be right on all of your paperwork. So anything that's blue and interactive, remember I told you could type in. So anything that's blue and interactive, you're good. You know, we're going to put does not, down here. Here's your percentage. You're going to get a 3% on this. And so you can fill it out. Now, notice how, because I gave myself the role as the listing agent, I can just hover over this and sign now. And it says adopt your signature. I say adopt my signature. So this is why we say add the roles. Notice how it already has Mary here. That's going to be able to sign it when we share this with her. So I'm just going to save this right now. I'm not going to save and share, and I'm going to tell you why. So because in the beginning, in the listing, there's several documents that you want to send to your client. So just save them. Now we're going to go back and we're going to do the mandatory agency disclosure because we're going to need that here. You're going to need also this authorization, but we'll do this one. Just want to go over this again. We're going to autofill. Now, again, notice how I'm just going to hover over here and adopt my signature. Here, because this form is the same form that we use for buyer and seller, we're going to check off we're representing the seller. If you work with Lear, you're definitely a designated agency, so we check that off for you, but you do have to pick down here who you're representing. So you click that off. So now notice how it has Mary, it has a place for Mary to sign. I'm just going to say she's my seller. Now, Dotloop will defer to 2 buyers and 2 sellers automatically. If you only have 1 buyer, all you have to do is click on the second box, this one down here, the second one. You go up to here and you assign it to no one. And so now that won't be assigned to anybody. Mary's still assigned. So we're going to save that. Now, if I saved and shared each individual document, what would happen is your client would get 4 different emails. You would get an email for the listing, an email for a mandatory agency disclosure. They would get an email for the authorization for buyer compensation. If you had to have lead paint, they would get another email. So the way to do it is fill out all of your paperwork first, save it only. Then you're going to go back to where all of your paperwork, this is just saying you haven't shared it. We're going to say, no, we don't want to share it. You're going to go back to where all of your paperwork has been filled out. And now when I check that I want to send the listing agreement and the mandatory agency, let's do the affiliated business. That's easy. Just autofill. There it is. Just has Mary's signature. We're going to save that. So now I'm going to send all 3 of these documents in one email to our client. And this is how you do it. Once I click this here, you're going to see a big share button. Again, it's blue and it's on the right-hand side of the screen. Just watch the right-hand side of the screen. You're going to see. So I want to send our client in one email the listing agreement, the mandatory agency, and the affiliated business. They're going to get in this one email all of these documents. They would have gotten separate emails if I saved and shared each individual document. So it just makes it a whole lot easier. I'm going to hit the share button. Dotloop has a wonderful built-in email system. It recognized that Mary Glavy was the seller and that on those forms, the seller has to sign. So it already checked it off and it gave her the ability to sign. That's why another reason why it's imperative that you do not skip the people section and assign the roles, because Dotloop is thinking for you. Okay, you're going to be sharing these forms. Mary's the seller, so we're going to give her the ability to sign. What you do down here, notice how Peter is on here. He's our buyer agent, but it didn't check it off because nowhere on that paperwork does a buyer agent have to sign that paper. So it's not checked off. So we're going to go down here. Hello, Mary. Please sign. Okay, now before you hit share, I want to discuss this attach as a PDF. I always highly recommend to our agents that you should always check this off, always. What does that do? Basically, it gives your client two ways to sign. They can sign electronically using the Dotloop link in the email, or it's going to be attached as a PDF to the email, and then they can print it out, read it, have a cup of coffee, sit down, read the entire contract, and then either hard sign it or they can go back and electronically sign it. The reason why I like this too is it gives the ability for your client to forward it to their children before they sign, their attorney before they sign, anything like that, that it gives the other person the ability to read the documents without being able to alter any of the documents. So say my mother was selling her house and we said, Mom, don't sign anything. We want to read everything before you sign it. She's going to get this email and forward it to me. And now I can read it and then say, oh, Mom, it's a standard signature. You can sign it. So she can either hard sign it, which means she would have to print them, sign them, upload them back into Loop and share them with you, or just go back to the email and start signing electronically through Dotloop. So we are going to check that off and then we're going to hit share. So now you're going to see that it's waiting on others. This is how you know that you sent these to your clients because you're waiting for them to fill out the signatures. So basically that's it. That's the three main steps in section 1 to successfully set up your loop for success. So number 1, set up the loop, create the loop. Number 2, add the people with the roles. Number 3, fill out the paperwork and share it. So I'm going to go on to section 3 right now. Section 2 of our training, which is how to submit the loop for review. Now, what does submit the loop for review mean? So every state, it has required paperwork, okay? And we, the brokerage, is responsible to get all of that information from our agents. So we have at Lair a compliance team, matter of fact, a very good compliance team that will look over your paperwork to make sure that we have all our I's dotted and T's crossed. So you may ask, what does Lair or the state of Massachusetts require for us to get paid? Okay, and great question. And so here's the answer right here. In absolutely every loop you create, the very first document is going to be a pending checklist. If you open that up, this is just an autofill. If you open that up, you're going to see exactly what Lair is requiring of you, an agent, to be fully executed in your loop. Now, you can put whatever you want in the loop, but we're going to be looking for specifically these things, and they need to be fully executed. Okay. So if you have 2 buyers and the exclusive listing is only signed by 1 buyer, the compliance team is going to reject that and say we need both buyers. So let's just go over this really quick. If you're on the buy side, we need agency disclosure. We need a signed offer. We need a purchase and sale agreement with all addendums. Now, we usually get these here. This is where they drop the ball a lot. That we don't get is, say there's a price change or somebody's added on to the title or somebody's coming off of a title. The addendum, and we all know this, becomes part of the purchase and sale. So if you have an addendum saying that they're adjusting the price at all and not everybody has signed it, it will be returned to you saying we need it fully executed. Since August 17th, every state in the United States requires a buyer contract. So that is now required. Seller's description of property. In some states, this is required. Connecticut, it's required. New Hampshire, it's required. Massachusetts, it's not required yet, but I assume it's going to be in the near future, but not yet. So if it's required in your state, it is required here. If you represent a seller in Massachusetts and the seller has filled this out, the compliance team is going to be looking for it fully executed because your client gave you information that they wanted to give the buyer. And so this should be, if your client does fill this out in the state of Massachusetts, you should have this attached to the MLS listing because it is going to be need to be signed by the buyer and seller. Obviously, lead paint is only needed if built prior to 1978. Listing sites, pretty similar, agency disclosure, listing agreement. Now we have this new document, authorization to offer buyer broker compensation. If your client is not going to offer buyer broker compensation, you will not need this. If your seller is offering buyer broker compensation, even if it's 0.5%, 0.25%, you're going to have to fill this out. So this is a new form that needs to be filled out by the state. These are all state required forms. Purchase and sale agreement with all addendums, seller's description of property. Again, most states, it is required. We're going to need it. In Massachusetts, if the seller filled it out, signed offer. Now, let me go on to the signed offer. A lot of agents are they're cutting corners here. You should always upload a signed offer. Remember, your job as an agent is to protect your client. You have a fiduciary duty to protect your client. You're not protecting your client if you have offers that are not signed and uploaded here. So people say, well, we went right into purchase and sale. Well, what if something happens? You have no proof that your offer was presented to a buyer because the seller didn't, let's say they didn't accept that offer. You really should get offers, either signed and accepted or even refused, because that's proof to the buyer. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I have proof here that the listing agent did submit your offer to the seller because they rejected it, and here's the signature. So really, as an agent, you should be getting fully executed offers. Lead paint, obviously, prior to 1978. Copies of deposit checks. Okay, these are all state required documents. The only document that Lair has you guys, our clients, sign that's not a state required document is the affiliated business arrangement disclosure. Stacy is just letting our clients know that Stacy has affiliated business with coast to coast closings. They don't have to use coast to coast closings. They can use coast to coast closings. We are just letting the agents know that Stacy has affiliated business arrangement with coast to coast. So that's all we need. If you have these items fully executed in your loop, you will not have a problem at all with the compliance team approving your loop. So how do you approve your loop? Very easy. So let's start with, when should you approve your loop? Okay. Submit your loop for review. When should you submit your loop for review? You should submit your loop for review if you're a buyer or a seller. So if you're a buyer agent or a listing agent, you want to submit your loop for review right after inspections and right after the P&S, purchase and sale, is signed and monies are received. You're saying, well, that's crazy. It's not going to close for another 4 weeks. Well, we, the compliance team, are going to start checking to make sure that you have the paperwork filled out correctly, because there's nothing worse than you wanting to get paid and the lead paint is filled out wrong. Now you have to try to find and track down an agent that's on their next transaction so that they can send it to their client. Oh, we filled this out wrong, to get it back to you so that you can get paid. So, and 90% of the time, the reason why a loop is not approved is because of lead paint. Lead paint, these brokerage companies are not educating their agents on how to properly check off the right boxes and sign. So not at Lair. Lair agents are trained very well. So 90% of the reason why a loop is not approved for commission is because of the lead paint. So if you have all of these pending checklists fully executed and you have a purchase and sale and you received all monies, now you're going to want to submit for review. Again, it's on the right-hand side of the screen and it's blue. Notice how it says not submitted here. So that's telling you that you did not submit this loop to the compliance team, so that you could say, well, how am I going to remember if I submitted it or not? If you open up the loop and it says not submitted, that's telling you you've not sent this to compliance team. So now we're going to hit the compliance team. Now, additional detail is required before we can submit it. The property address. Remember, we did not fill out the property address when we created this loop. So now we need the property address broken down. We are also going to need the MLS number and the year built. That is required by the state. Now, this is just a pop-up window. Okay, this is not where you fill it in, even though it looks like you fill it in here. You're going to exit out of here and you're going to go to view details. And this is where you fill out anything that pops up that you need more information. And we're going to go to the property address. Property address might be here, okay, all in one line, you know, the city, the state, the number, the street name, the street number. But it has to be broken down. So we're going to say that Mary Glavy is selling 123, and you have to put the street name here, Main Street. We don't need the unit number in East Longmeadow. No, we'll say Leominster, Massachusetts, and we're going to do the code, and we don't need the county, but here you do need the MLS number. Now, the great thing about the MLS, this will take alphabetical letters. So if this is a non-MLS, you could type in non-MLS and it will take this. Okay, so that's great. But if you do have an MLS number, all you have to do is type it in. Okay, so this takes numbers and alphabetical letters. We'll just put any MLS in there for right now. And where do we go here? Here it is. And we need the year built. So it automatically put in the year built. Okay, so it does need to be broken down, just so you know. It has to be broken down by street number, street name, the city, the state, the zip. We do need the MLS and we need the year built. So make sure that you save all of that. You're going to save it, and then you're going to go back here and you're going to submit for review. Now remember, there's two folders within this loop. There's the listing folder and there's the other important folder. So now we're going to hit the submit for review. So now it's saying select the folder within the loop that you want the compliance team to look over. You want them only to look over the listing folder, and then you say it's a listing review and you submit. Now look, it changed it from not submitted to submitted. This is how you know if you submitted your paperwork to the compliance team. You just have to look here. I just want to pause right here because I see that we have 3 people on the call, and I just like to welcome everybody. We have Lindsay on the call from Wellington, and we have Mary Glavy. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Lindsay's from Florida. They usually use, they use app files. I prefer Dotloop over app files, but Lindsay, you can determine that. The chat is open for questions. So if you want to ask a question, I do take questions throughout the training. So, excuse me. So that is our section 2. So section 1 was how to set up the loop for review. Section 1 was how to set up your loop for success. Section 2 was how to submit your loop for review. And now I'm going to go to my favorite section, which is all the little tips and tricks. Now, notice here that Mary Glavy, our seller, signed these documents. So it went from waiting on others to signed. Also, you're going to get an email saying that your client signed these. So now we're going to go into, oh, we have a chat. Let me see. Okay, great. So now I'm going to go into my favorite section of my training, which are all the tips and tricks of Dotloop. So let's just say you're a listing agent, but you believe you have a buyer that would be very interested in this house. You don't have to create another whole loop for your buyer. what you're going to do is you're going to add a folder within this loop, and you're going to name it. If you just hit the add folder, which I just did, open this. If you just put your cursor and drag it here and highlight it, you could put buyer folder. So now, and if you click off the screen, now you have 3 folders. You have a buyer folder, a listing folder, and again, you have other important documents. Okay, so say now you can, how to add a document into this folder. We added a folder, and now what do we need to put in here? We need to put a contract to purchase, right? So you're going to add a document, which just opens up your 3 ways to add a document. We are going to go to our templates, and we're going to go to Massachusetts layer master file. Obviously, if this was Connecticut, you would pick Connecticut. Lindsay, if it was Florida, you would pick Florida. Okay, if you were creating this. But for this training purposes, we're going to hit Connecticut. And I'm going to do the search by just typing in contract. There it is, contract to purchase real estate. Now, if I knew the MAR number, I could look it up by the MAR number. If I knew the form number was 501, I could type in 501 as well, and it will pull in. Most people look it up by the title. The less you type in, the more results you're going to get. So we're going to put in contract, and we're going to copy this. Now I have an offer to purchase inside my buyer folder, which is inside my loop for 13 Test Street. So another way you want to add a folder is you may want to add a folder and put all your backup. You might want to put all your backup offers in here. Okay. So now I have a buyer folder. I have, so say your sellers didn't go with your buyer, but they are saying they want it for backup. You can take this form and you can drag it into the backup. So you could put it in there, or you could keep it in yours. This is what I love about it. I love the ease of Dotloop, that you could just drag whatever you need into the folder. So I want to show you the other 2 ways that you can add documents to your loop. Very easy. What you're going to do is you're going to go to the folder and open up the folder, or click on the folder that you want to add the document, and then you hit add document. So we already showed you, this is the templates that are all interactive. This has over 5,000 templates here. You can also browse your, let's just see, I want to put, let's see. So I go to my downloads, it's easy. And you're just going to download, let me see. I don't want any of this because this is my personal stuff. So let me just, so you're going to go to, I'm going to go to here. So we have, I'm going to download this. This is a sample lead paint. So I'm going to go now to here to my browse, and there's my downloads, and you can see there's the download. And so it's very easy. Everybody knows how to add PDFs. So that's how you do it. You find add document, you go browse your computer, you find where you download it, and you upload it into your loop. Now, you cannot, the agents are starting to take pictures, photos of signed documents. Really not the way to go. It's not professional. And a matter of fact, Dotloop recognizes that it's not professional, and they will not allow any JPEGs. It has to be a PDF. So if you met your clients personally and they hard signed it while they met you, you're going to have to scan that document, then upload it. This is how you do it. But a lot of people don't know about this, and I absolutely love this feature. So say we're over here in our emails. I have an offer right here from Peter Marino. Okay, so if I opened up they sent it through Dotloop, and I opened up the Dotloop link, it's going to make a duplicate loop. So not only now am I going to have my loop called 13 Test Street, it's going to have the buyer agent's loop called 13 Test Street, which can be very confusing. So I recommend this way of doing it better. Again, one little caveat here, you should never, never, never work out of somebody else's loop. Make your own loop and work out of your loop, okay? So you get an email saying, you get notified on your phone that somebody, Joe Smith, sent you an offer on 13 Test Street through Dotloop. If you open up that link on your phone that says Dotloop, you've just created a duplicate loop. Now you have a buyer loop and a seller loop, which the buyer loop's not yours. So this is how you should do it. When you get an email saying you got an offer, what I want you to do is first, I want you to go to your loop first. You're going to add the document and you're going to hit this one, email. So every single time you create a loop in Dotloop, it has its own email address that will drop PDFs directly into this loop. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to copy that email address. I'm going to go over to this offer. There's the offer right here from Peter Marino. And I am going to forward this PDF to this address. So what is it going to do? Dotloop is going to take this attached PDF and drop this into my loop without making an extra loop. And so now we're going to send it. And you're going to see over here, when I refresh the page, that the offer from Peter Marino is going to be here. So let me refresh the page. Let me see. So refresh. There it is. There's the offer. It dropped that PDF directly into my loop. So all I had to do was open up my loop and I copied this email and it dropped the PDF directly in here. So I love this feature. A lot of agents don't know about this feature. I absolutely love this feature. So let's say this is that's the offer. This is the lead paint. So we want to change this. So we scan this. If you hit these three dots again, it's on the right-hand side of the screen and you hit rename, you can rename this. You just take your cursor, you hold it over there and you write lead paint. And that's how, and then just click off the screen. And now instead of it saying scanned, you know what these are. Now, I want to show you now, this is what we usually get. So here's a sample. The seller checked this off. Now, usually as the buyer agent, you have to now then take this off of the MLS, upload it as a PDF, and you're going to have to put your client's signatures here. So how do you do that? You take this add button and you're going to add an initial and you're going to drop it. Now, if I drop this right there, I can't tell if this initial is on D or E. So what you have to do is take the cursor over here until you get these two little arrows, hold and drag and fit it right there. And then you hit this assign field and you're going to assign it to client Mary Glavy. Now Mary is changed. She's not the seller agent anymore. She's not selling, she's the buyer. I'm going to go over that again. If you go to add, so basically you're a buyer agent. The listing agent has lead paint on the listing, so you downloaded it and you uploaded it into your form, and now you need to send it to your client. What do? You open up, you go to add an initial, and you're going to drop it where your client needs to sign. And then again, this is too big because it looks like it's being E and F. You need to take your cursor till you get those two little arrows, just drag. You're just going to drag it right there and then assign it to your client. Okay. So we'll do it one more time. And I'm going to get the client there, drag, and then don't forget to assign you have to assign who has to sign that. Okay, you could put check marks. There is a check mark. So this one's been filled out because it was a demo. But say I wanted to add a check mark, I could, and then actually check it for my client. If you click it, you can check it for your client. You're going to ask them, obviously, what are they going to do? If you want to get rid of something, you're going to click on what you want to get rid of and hit the exit button, the X button up there. So same thing for signatures. You're going to add a signature. You're going to come down to where the purchaser signs. You're going to sign it. Mary Glavy signs. Make sure that the lead paint has a full and complete address, okay? You can't just say 123 Main Street. It has to say 123 Main Street, Leominster. It has to have it. This is an infraction on the form if it doesn't have, I don't know, their zip code, but it has to. Just make sure you save everything, okay? Now you're ready to share this with your client who can then sign. So I wanted to show how to do that. Now, another thing is if you have more than 2 clients, you have 3 or 4, you can upload a PDF and drop a signature anywhere on this form and put it there. So say like my family was selling my mother's house, believe it or not, there was 6 of us that had to sign everything. So instead of doing 3 purchase and sales, because there's only 2 signatures, you can add signatures once you upload the purchase and sale as a PDF and add a signature. So you could do that. If you want to get rid of this, just click on it and then hit the X and it gets rid of it. So I wanted to show you how to add signatures, how to shrink text boxes. That is probably the #1 way the compliance team does not approve your loops, is because we can't tell where those check marks are. So I wanted to go over that. I added how to add a folder, and I wanted to say a lot of people don't know when they should create their loop. And the great thing about Dotloop is it's the same answer for both if you're the listing agent or the buyer agent. You want to set up your loop before seeing your client, because before a listing can go active, there's paperwork that needs to be signed. If you're a buyer agent, you cannot go to a property without a buyer agreement signed and an agency disclosure. So set up your loops prior to meeting with your client, okay? So I want to go over this here. So say we got all our signatures and now this is an active listing. You're going to want to keep up on this. And then when it goes under agreement, you're going to want to keep up on that. You're definitely going to want to keep up on the price. Anything in red, you should definitely, absolutely, definitely upload. And the reason why you are doing this with the status is because everybody in Dotloop has this little reporting icon, which I absolutely love. You can see your business by one click. If I click this, it is telling me that in March, I had over $1 million worth of sales. In April, I didn't have any closings. In May, I had several closings. In June, I had a little less. And now these are the ones that are under agreement. So I'm going to have closing here, but I didn't have any closings or under agreements in September. But September's still young. So I love this feature because an agent at their fingertips can look and see what their business is doing, but it's only as good as you're filling out this up here. If you are not putting things when they sold, they can't. This is very important that you fill the status. Where are you in this transaction? Now, sold should always stay sold. You should never archive solds. Archive is only used for things that fell apart. Okay, so sold stays sold. And I'm going to tell you why you want to do that. Because Dotloop has this filter system made. So right now I'm filtering only solds. So you're going to see on my dashboard, you're not going to see any under agreements, actives. You're only going to see sold. Now, why is that important? Well, maybe at the end of the year, you want to send a holiday card, or maybe in January, you want to say, what does the market look like in the coming year? You can send this to everybody you sold a property to, or maybe you want to do people that archived. They were buyers, but the market was just too tough for them, and the market looks like it's a little better. You can send them something by filtering, okay? Now, if you're a very busy agent, you don't want to see your solds. Those are transactions that are done with. You can hit active. You only want to see active and under agreement. And if I just check active and under agreement and I hit apply, you're going to see that all the solds over here are going to go away, and you're only going to see my active and my under agreement. So here you go. Here's my under agreement, active. You're not going to see anything but under agreement and active. It is vital in order for this reporting tab to work. This type of transaction status and sale price is vital for this to work, but it's a great tool. At a click of your hand, you can see what your business looks like. So if you've created a loop and you can't find it, and you know that you created it, check your filters first. Maybe you had just check what you want to do to see all of your loops is under loop status, make sure nothing is checked off, and you hit apply, and you'll be able to see everything. Okay. This is now, I am sorting my dashboard by creation date with the most recent one on top, which is what I prefer. Notice how it says new, but you can sort these by last date updated, transaction price, list date, expiration date, closing date, submitted for review date, or contract agreement date. So you can do it by, this is now sorting it. This is sorting it by the most recent. If I hit this again, it's going to give me my oldest one. You don't want to go through all of your old transactions. So to me, having it sort by your most recent is the way to go. I prefer that myself. You also get options of what you want your dashboard to look like. This is the grid view, which I'm in now, which I prefer. Then you have a list view, and then you have a compact view. Again, I prefer the grid view. I just think it's cleaner. Everything is right there. So I wanted to go over that. We're winding down in our training. I don't see any questions, but I'll take questions from anybody. If you have a question, just type it in the chat. I want to go over something really awesome. Now, sometimes underwriting will want a signature verification on a document. I don't know if they've ever had this, but Dotloop has that. So if you go to the signed document that the underwriting wants signature verification, and you hit the 3 dots, you're going to see signature verification, which now you can view the document that has their signatures. Then we can download it and share it, or you can print it. It gives you options. So we're going to hit view. Now you're going to see that we're viewing this document, and it shows so if you need to send this to somebody, you can either share this document with underwriting, or you could just download it and then share it that way, however you want to do it. But I love that. And just so you know, on any document that is signed by your client, if you open up the document up here, also gives you that signature verification. So it gives you 2 places where you can get the signature verification. I like going over that because sometimes underwriting does. That signature verification will not show up on a document that's not signed. This is not signed. So let's see what this one. Oh, okay. This is just that. So that's a mandatory. That's nothing. But usually these 3 dots. So let's go over. So you can open the document either by clicking the 3 dots or just clicking on the document itself. You can rename the document. You can make a copy. Now, why would you make a copy of a document? Okay, so say you have a buyer that's doing a cash offer, and they have proof of funds in one loop that you have. So they didn't get that first offer. So now they're on to their next house. What you could do is you could just create a new loop with the address of what they're buying. And then you can go into the address of the offers they did not get, and you can just make a copy of everything and copy it into the loop. It's very easy. So this tells you history. You can print these documents. You can download them. You can archive a document. You can submit for review. So I wanted to go over that. Now, activity log. I love this. And this is why attorneys are accepting Dotloop signatures. This activity log, when you have the loop open, okay, not closed, there's an activity log. This is giving you absolutely everything that I did in this loop today, just today. This is everything. It's saying that I active listing to under agreement. I had a pre-listing. I changed it to active listing. I modified the lead paint. I viewed the lead paint. This is really good if you have an extension in and you want to know if the buyer agent even opened it. If you hit the activity log, it'll say that you sent the extension. It'll say that he hasn't read it, or it'll say he viewed it, or or it'll say he forwarded it to his client. So this activity log is vital when you want something. So let me go to a loop that, this is in the East Longmeadow office. I don't want that. I want to go to my training one. Here we go. Let me just go to this loop right here. So if I go here and I hit activity log, it's going to give me, here's today's date, or August 7th date. And this is everything I did on August 7th. Let me see. I want to go to a date that, I want to go to a loop that was prior. Let me see. So let me go to this and go to activity log. Now, August 18th, they did this. June 3rd, this was done. May 15th, this was done. So this is why that loop is accepted. And, you know, everything is done by IP addresses in there. So let's get assigned. Let me see. Let me go back to the loop and go to assign document. Let's see. Under the signature verification, look how it has. It has the date and the time. It has the ID number, has the IP address that the client signed this, security level, email vary, and it was consent disclosure accepted. So this is why they have all of this down. And that's why a lot of companies, attorneys are allowing this. So if you're in a loop and you have the loop open, you hit activity log, it'll show you everything just in that loop. But if you go to your dashboard and you have something called activity log, it's going to give you everything in your dashboard. So basically 13 Test Street, this is what I did on 13 Test Street. It's giving me 13 Test Street again. So that's telling you everything that you did in this profile, okay? In your profile, all of your work that you did on your dashboard. So let me see, up here, this is your universal bar. This is your reporting. We went over this. If you want to see your loops, your dashboard, you just hit that. Task, this is things you can actually assign to team members. Okay, there's a task that's a little bit more advanced. Here's your people section. I love the people section. These are your contacts. And you can add a person in here. And I love it because if you have somebody with a hard name, you can put it in here and it just remembers it. It's just awesome. And then these are your templates, which we went into. Here's all of your templates. These are interactive forms. So I want to go over that. Okay, so we have like 2 minutes left to our training. I'm going to open this. I'm just going to do a small review. I don't see any questions, so I want to just do a small review what we went over. So in section 1, we went over to 3 steps in how to set up your loop for success. And the 3 steps were create the loop, add the people along with the roles, fill out the paperwork, and share. Simple, simple, simple. Then we went into our second section, which was how to submit your loop for review. That's how you get paid. That's the compliance team. Remember, we said that in every loop that is created, there will be a pending checklist. So if you want to know what layer is looking for, just hit the pending checklist. Make sure you have all of this in your loop, and then make sure that you submit the loop review. Remember, if it's asking for any additional information for your loop, you go to view details. This is where you're going to input, or if it's missing your client's phone number. We do need your client's phone number. Okay, this is required by the state. So if it's saying that we're missing information from your client, you're going to go here. If it's saying we're missing information on the property we're actually selling, it's here. So you're going to do, and this is where we have the MLS number and the year built. We do not need this parcel or tax ID. So you can disregard that. So we went over that. We went over how to submit your loop review, when to submit your loop review. And then we went over the third section, which was the tip and tricks, which was how to shrink, how to add signatures, how to shrink, how to add documents 3 different ways. You can add a document to your loop. You can add it through an interactive form, a PDF, or you can drop a PDF directly into your loop. We went over all of the things on these under the 3 dots. And we went over the activity log. So, I wanted to go over one thing. This is how you access your email. I'm sorry. So I want to go over, if you wanted to email somebody, you just go to that, and now it's giving, remember, anybody in the people section is going to be listed over here. Just click on the person you want to send the email to. It'll be in black. And then you just send your email and then send. So that only went to Mary. It did not go to Peter. If I want to send something to Peter, I do that and I send it to Peter. So I just wanted to show you, and this is how the compliance team is going to communicate with you. They are going to communicate with you right here through the email system that's built into Dotloop. All right, well, thank you everybody for joining me. I appreciate everybody, and we'll talk to you next time. Until then, happy looping, and I'll see you next month. Thank you, everybody. Bye.